All right, good evening and welcome to the April 3rd meeting of the Sunbury Services Committee. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Capel?
Here.
Mr. Ayer? Here. Mr. Grumney?
Here.
Mayor St. John?
Here.
Present.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the minutes from our March 6th meeting. Can I get a second? Second. Second by Mr. Grumney. Roll call?
Mr. Capel?
Yes.
Mr. Grumney?
Yes.
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
Mr. Ayer?
Yes.
4 yeas?
I feel like I'm talking inside a giant bathroom right now. The sound is just a little weird. So we may have to skip the GIS program update for a little bit and go on to Columbus Granville parking. Let's see.
Maybe that's a little better.
That sounds fine. I can understand you.
There we go. Yes, so we'll hold off on the first item and jump to the second one. So actually, Dan is going to take us through the next three items and as a PowerPoint presentation to help do that. So
Thank you, Miss Amber. May I have the clicker once you get that started, please? You can start from the
yeah,
beginning.
start from the beginning.
Start from the start. There you go.
Which way am I going? Which way? It's, well, because I hit one way. Well, I went left. We're all just gonna do that. There we go. It's over. There we go.
Can you hit? Can I hit start? Okay. Oh. Yeah, so there's a lot here to present, so I'm going to go quite quickly. There's three subjects tonight. Is this thing not on?
No, wait, this way.
Oh, okay. Stop.
Yeah,
Since it here if you want.
she'll advance it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, three subjects, the Columbus Street parking lot, the 2024 SIP Street Improvement Program, and a slight issue we had this week with a culvert over on South Galena Road. Hey, go ahead, Amber. The first topic is the parking lot across the street. You can go ahead. Which used to look like that. Now it doesn't look like that. You know quite well what it looks like, a nice big parking lot or a gravel lot. Go ahead. This parking or this the intent here is to create a parking lot for as an amenity for the city with an objective to provide parking for our downtown business, provide it's not just for that. It provides well, hit the next slide, please. This is hard. I guess I skipped some of the slides I had in our presentation for our streetscapes committee, but it provides for economic development reasons. It provides parking for our downtown businesses. It provides some aesthetics for our community. It provides mobility and for even bikers that come into town might park their cars and take their bikes, that kind of stuff. But it also provides some green infrastructure, partly for the idea that we can kind of walk the talk and start doing some unique things that other communities are doing and such. But it also we kind of have to practically because it'll save us probably a couple $100,000 because there's not any storm sewers in that area. This slide, which you can't really tell, but it shows what the storm sewers will look like and how that site will be graded. The hatching on there is a unique style of pavement, which is a pervious pavement. The water will leach through that pavement into the subsurface, not go into a storm sewer, but leach down into the ground. There will be some subsurface drainage that will ultimately, if it goes it gets overwhelmed, it'll go to the road through some basically some under drains through the like a downspout into the curb drains. But that's the intention there. But it will be a nice parking lot in those corners there. I'm going to go over there. You can hear me if I go. Yes, I can do it here. There's these areas here are bio retention areas here, and here where the site will drain in this direction. This is a high spot, like the site's graded now. You know, it's kind of raised here as you come in. So it'll maintain that same style. And there'll be plantings in this area. I'll show you toward the end, plantings in these areas as well. These will be wetland style species, wildflowers, which will have a nice look. Be a nice corner space here with some seating around in here. And again, this is a pervious paving here so that it'll leach in, and there'll be some plantings along this area here. It'll be in and out on both of these entrance ways here, but it's only a one-way. Can you go back to the previous slide? It'll be a one-way driving around here for safety reasons. You can see the plantings a little bit better in this particular slide. So I won't belabor all this stuff. You can ask me questions about it later, but there's 36 parking spaces provided here, so it does give a significant increase in the amount of parking spaces downtown. You can go on 2 slides more. Okay, so this is how the pervious pavement acts. Though the pavement is porous, water drains down through uniformly graded stone down into the subsurface soils, and then down below that into the ground, so that it doesn't flow off into the street or into a storm sewer. It's an alternative to traditional pavement. It helps reduce infiltration. It doesn't, so the water doesn't flow off into the road either. You don't get the freezing and such. It allows it to seep through the surface. And it also helps pollutants. The pollutants don't go into the storm sewer, they go into the ground and they get filtered in the ground. Reduces the need for salt because you don't have the freezing on the surface that goes down into the ground. And it also, as I mentioned, reduces costs. You don't have the storm sewer systems. Okay, next slide. And then these bio retention areas kind of offer the same thing. Sorry for my poor graphics here, but these offer lots of amenities and from a pollutant reduction standpoint. I'll spend too much time with my buildings and start preaching about this. So on to the next slide. It performs well in all seasons. You can see even in the you see all the snow around here, but there's not much snow on this part of the site. It doesn't really stick so much. This is in rainy weather, just kind of flows right down through. Go on. Here you can see this is kind of what you would see. This is sort of what this site would look like. This particular one, you've got porous asphalt, porous brick, and then this is the bioswale kind of area. And this I took from Google Earth. It's just what we built years ago at Blue Limestone Park. We actually want to see one. It's been years when we built it, but this area right here, this porous pavement, we didn't build the main drive-through area. That's regular pavement, but if you wanted to see one in action, that's kind of an older one. I'm not sure how it's performing these days, but it performed well to start with. Next slide. I showed this one just because if you look at this site, you might notice something unique about there. That's a big property. You don't see a single catch basin there. That's very unique that you see that. Probably I'd say $100,000 by not putting, I spent $75,000 by using porous pavement, but you saved a good bit of money by not putting that in, by not putting in all those features. Go ahead to the next slide. And here is just kind of this was that corner feature, and what we were hoping to do is kind of replicate what's in the opposite corner over there. On Cherry Street by using the same style of brick. It won't look quite the same, but it'll be the same sort of look, so that it's consistent and has the same aesthetics and all. Go next slide. And this gives it a sort of, this is just kind of a look at what sort of plantings we have. Next slide. Again, more of that. It's some dogwoods, winterberries, switchgrass, sumac. So I'm just showing you that we have landscape architects looking at putting in something that have nice aesthetic features. Next slide. And more of the same. Red maples in the center, arborvitae, hydrangeas and such. And that is really all I showed. We have so much to look at tonight. I didn't want to go into great depth of detail. Next slide is questions, I believe. Good. Oh, yeah, questions.
Yeah, so maybe if I could add just a little bit more context. So this had gone through the the Streetscapes Working Group. The mayor and the chairman are members of that committee. We do have some business representatives, community representatives that are sitting on that as well. So it had gone through that group. We felt like, we tweaked the design a little bit. This is the proposal that they, wanted to present to the services committee as kind of a plan to move forward. So that's the reason we're here tonight, is just to begin to get feedback from the group in terms of, you like the direction we're headed. And if so, we'll begin to kind of move to the next steps. We do have funding in the 2024 capital budget, $500,000 to put in a parking facility over there. We do know there are some elements of this already that we would probably pull out. The preliminary estimate has us at around $750,000. So there does need to be some value engineering, as they say, to kind of get to that budget number, and perhaps some grant assistance to get us there. So, but anyway, this is really introducing the plan, the direction. Just any feedback from the committee is, I think, helpful at this point.
Thank you for those details. I appreciate that. I should put those in there.
That pavement is outstanding. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I think it will be a pretty cool project, and it's in a great place, a great, highly visible, and I think it would be very nice.
Okay, one thing I wanted to call out, I would say it doesn't replicate that corner, it complements. We had took some lessons learned away from that particular corner on line of sight. Specifically on if you're going up Columbus and trying to turn left on Cherry or vice versa. There's a little bit of a line of sight issue there. So it is set back a little bit further.
Yeah.
The crosswalks are probably better designed. What else? There was another item. Yeah, we already have identified some items that can come out.
Fencing.
Yeah,
and I didn't show that fence on. Well, I just didn't show that fence on there. I took that out because of the cost, and we didn't need it.
Right. The other item that we didn't talk about, the southern boundary, there are actually smaller parking spaces for
Can you show that?
motorcycles and golf carts.
Yeah, lots of them. Yeah.
So they'll both have red brick though, they'll both use the similar, so it does look.
Yeah, complement, just the setback of that actual wall will be further back, like you could probably draw.
No big concrete planters either.
I have to say, it's a great idea, but they do oftentimes, unless they're professionally planted, they don't look very good.
What?
Those giant planters,
Oh, yeah.
they, unless they're professionally done, they don't do us any justice.
Thank you, Mayor, for those points. This area is pushed back. This line of sight is good here, and I focus on some of the engineering perspectives. To me, the biggest thing is this porous pavement, and the fact that it's a very hard site to design because of the storm sewer. But you're right too about the line of sight and some of the other issues about making it complement that other section. And this is a unique feature here too, where it's a golf cart, motorcycle parking area as well.
It answers the parking question to an extent. 36 is a good number of spaces to add in. At the same time, it's going to be attractive. And how often does a parking lot add to the aesthetic?
Right.
But I think this will.
compared to that.
Well, yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
And the engineering has been proven out. I mean, we do have to make sure it works. We will do have to make sure we can get some under drains in there to make sure if it does. We don't know what the soils underneath the ground are. They could be, tight and compact, and that infiltration may be difficult to make happen, but I'm relatively confident, especially since we dug a big hole. There was a big hole in there that filled back up, so the soils haven't been disturbed. But, I'm looking forward to getting to a point where we can design it and make it work and see it come to fruition.
Are you looking for any action from the committee?
No, others, again, other than kind of a general consensus to proceed. I think the next item in here we do have, and we'll bring this to the finance committee, and then council is a task order to do the preliminary design or the additional planning of preliminary design. So that action item, again, maybe at the next meeting.
To get the surveying going so we can really start
That's
the analysis and make sure we can actually pull it off.
Yeah.
That's really what's most important.
That's one question. So just looking at it, is there only, other than the traffic coming in and out, is there only one pedestrian entrance and exit to the parking lot that's cut out? It looks like it's to the north on the page, but
Yes, sir.
yeah, okay, okay.
No, as a preliminary design, then that's, as we go through final, changes can obviously be made.
Yeah. Just want to make sure people aren't trying to avoid people cutting in through the the in and outs.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point, because they'll stomp all over those bushes.
Right.
So, all right, next topic
Yeah,
then, the street program. So pull up the presentation there. So I think I've mentioned this, but just as, before he gets into this, the, OPWC grant application. That we
Same
submitted.
slide set.
Yeah, same slide set. I
just keep
that we submitted late last year, did not get funded. So one of the things Dan and I have been looking at is kind of, okay, how do we approach the 2024 plan? So what Dan and I have talked about, and what Dan I think will present to you here is one, a reminder of what's in the plan, what we think the costing looks like for each component of the plan. Not asking you to kind of finalize that tonight, but understand at least that we may need to scale back on it, depending upon where we ultimately land with if we want to enhance the budget or try some other techniques. So again, won't spend a whole lot of time on that, except to just again understand what was in the plan and what the cost of each component part would be. Yeah.
Go ahead to the next one. So this was the cost estimate from what we submitted to OPWC. You can see the cost here. Just go on to the next one. It was $1.018 million. And what we had in there was $618,000 of local resources and $400,000 of OPWC funds. And this was the roads. These were the roads to be done. And what the point is here is I wanted to show you where the money was going. And I show them in three different ways. I show you the PACER ratings so you can see how bad the roads were identified from an engineering perspective. And I want to show you a visual, and then I'm going to show you where they were. I'm going to blow right through those, and you can come back and look at them if you want. So next slide, Amber. This is the PACER ratings. I know it's difficult to see. Commerce Street, where it was a 5, Cherry Street was a 5, Mill Run, Millstone Drive, South Vernon, Leastone, we're in the 4 range, down to Bayboro, North Mill, or parts of North Miller, Sedgwick, and Stone. We're in the 3 and 2 range. Next slide. And now here, this is to me, this is where you can really see. You can get an idea of what they look like and what the costs were. North Miller Drive is really bad at the beginning there, from Cherry Street up to about Tippett Court. Which, by the way, that component of North Miller Drive is about $60,000. Then the rest of that was the rest of the $342,500 up all the way up to Sunbury Meadows. Sedgwick, you can see, is really bad, about $35,000. Mill Run Drive is so 44,000, et cetera. I don't have to read them all off to you. But you can see kind of what condition they're in and what amount of cash it takes to fix them. Next slide. And here we go again with Cherry Street. This is just that short portion. If we can go back, I will go back to the map here in a second. Stone Street's relatively bad shape. Millstone Court's in bad shape. Millstone's not awful, but it's got some significant longitudinal cracking. Vernon Street's in awful shape.
Yes, it is.
Next.
Yeah, and just a reminder, Vernon Street is one of those, again, where it's connected to a settlement agreement, so you know, that it needs to be a priority for funding this year.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then this one, I think gives you sort of an overall, you can kind of see overall the view of where things are. Next slide. Well, this one's out, or go back to that previous one. And go forward. This is really hard to present. Hit the next one. Keep going. These are some of the add-ons. Don't really want to talk about these, but what we had in the app was all those mill and fills that we just went over. We had some add-ons, which I think would be ones we would do at a later date. What Daryl and I talked about was going ahead and designing those and doing them when the time was right. We had the opportunity to do them when we thought we needed to do them. One of them was this crossing at General Rosecrans. It's kind of an expensive, it's a small project. It's a rapid rectangular flashing beacon, which is expensive just because of the hardware and the wiring and such that goes into it. Go ahead and go backwards, sorry. This one is the Sunbury Meadows Drive traffic calming. It's a simple project. Almost, it's more for engineering than it is for the actual implementation of it. But it's an important project. We've talked about doing that. It ends up being about $38,000 all in by the time you do that engineering, get a bid, get a contractor on board and all that. We can pull the trigger on that pretty much any time. But whether it's part of the SIP or part of the SIP or something else, up to y'all. And go back to this one we need to get done. It's a small project. We can do this at any time. I can go out there even with Jake and shoot it, put a plan together, and you shoot it with survey equipment. I mean, and then put a plan together and hire a local contractor like Ironsight or Park and reset that catch basin. It's not an expensive project. It needs to get done. It's been sitting there like that for a long time. It's a problem. We were going to do it with the SIP. Whether we do that or not, up to you. Now let's move back into our real work. There's two other projects. This one, which I think is going to be a pretty expensive project. It's bad drainage on that intersection there. I'm afraid this is going to, as more and more I look at this, I'm afraid it's going to be kind of expensive. We need to tackle it at some point in time. I don't think it's an SIP project. I think it's going to be a standalone project at some point in the near.
Can we just roll that into the East Granville Street project? Can we
What's
just
that?
roll that into the East Granville Street project since we're going to be
Yes, that's
doing a lot more?
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful idea.
Well, but keep in mind, there's also though damage down the road. So yeah, I mean, if we can get away with getting part of Morning Street because it's starting to fail
Yeah.
down Morning, not just on Granville. So
Well,
we'll have to convince them that that was in the scope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we could do it as an alternate to that project though.
Yeah, maybe that's a
good
good,
thinking.
that's a good idea.
Hey, like that. And that Greenbrier is sort of an outlier project that just needs to be addressed because it's kind of unique. Wes told me about this one the first day it started. At some point we need to address that. It's some odd drainage issues out there that just need to be tackled.
So this one's been in front of council. A resident has brought some concern about it, and this was a resident's attempt, I think, to kind of manage the stormwater. So that's the reason we had it on our plan.
So all that to say, and I'm sorry that flying through this is just so much to cover tonight, but all that to say is at some point we need to decide how to tackle this 2024 SIP. This is a listing of the projects that were in the mill and fill projects that were in the OPWC app with the costs attached to it. what projects do we want to do? How much do we want to spend? And given how much we want to spend, which one of these projects do we want to do? Or do we want to dissect pieces, parts of them and do them that way? We're not going to make those decisions tonight, but those decisions do need to be made. And or do we want to add in some of those other projects like Middleview? We probably do want to throw that one in there. It's pretty inexpensive and probably need to get it done, or do we do that separate? And Daryl and I had mentioned to him tonight, there may be a slight chance, an opportunity to cooperate, coordinate with the county engineer to get some assistance from them to do some work there. And we'll try to investigate that next week.
Right.
So that a lot thrown at
I
you.
just mentioned one thing. I know we focused a lot on costs and we spent a little bit of time on the PACER ratings. The three things I think about on street improvement program are total cost, traffic counts,
Mhm.
you know, how much traffic is actually traveling on the road. And then condition. So like those are the three factors that
Mhm.
I think I'm considering. But in terms of order of priority, it's anything that is safety related. Like that, I think it's Middleview Storm Basin, you know, that is a hazard and it's got other safety issues with stormwater management. Anything where we can protect our investment, like if we wait another year and it's gonna cost twice as much, I think we do it. And then just overall value.
I totally agree with all of those, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that will factor in our decision making for sure.
I think next month we'll be able to maybe look at cost, traffic flow and condition, and even if it's not accurate traffic flow, but I mean,
Mhm.
if you used a high, medium, low, like Miller Drive, high.
Yeah,
traffic.
sure, absolutely. Would you like to do that at this committee then?
Unless you need quicker action, then I would say council or finance next meeting. Is that what?
Yeah, no, I think, well, one of our strategies, I think, is to bid the project a little bit earlier this year, see if we can get
Mhm.
early season pricing. So, I mean, I think if I'm hearing you correctly, we'll put together some high level assessment of high, medium, whatever, low, and bring that to the services committee. Yeah, I wasn't saying that we necessarily make that a working session, but we'd like you to react to that maybe, and then if we can hopefully come to some resolution of, yeah, we think you're on point here, or I'd move this one up. I mean, that I think is probably the direction we're gonna need
Yeah.
next time. The other
How
thing is,
short are we on budget? That's the other.
well, so we've got $500,000 in the budget right now. So, and we've got roughly $900,000 worth of road projects. Again, that's not including the other elements. So that's one of the things I think we just want to talk through a little bit. Dana, you, myself, talk a little bit about where the budget is and how inclined we might be to make an adjustment on that.
You had mentioned the crosswalk at Rosecrans, I
Mhm.
think. And I know that was included in this presentation. Is that part of the overall cost that was included? Or that one of the side projects that is not included in that 800 and?
Yeah, the 890 is just the street project. So
Okay.
those are kind of those additional projects beyond that.
Because I just personally, and I know we've had a couple people maybe talk to council about,
Mhm.
you know, the safety to that. So I mean, I would, that, for me personally, and I don't know if there's another option besides the costly one that you had described, Dan, you know, I know the components you said was expensive, but something there, because I know that there was a father here talking about how they're walking through, making trails themselves and things like that. And I think that for me goes with what the mayor saying was about safety and just making sure kids are getting across the street safely and not having to improvise or, you know, and I know money's a topic too, but I just,
No,
that's something that's of interest.
I totally agree with what you said, Mayor, about all those different things, and that would go into the decision-making process, and some of those are kind of obvious. But I would hesitate to do anything different than an RRFB. I'd even do a fancier one than that there if I had my druthers, but as a mid-block crossing with children involved, I wouldn't do anything less than that for certain there. But I do agree. I've been concerned about that ever since I met with the principal out there and talked about that, and been it's been in the back of my mind, well, why isn't that moving forward?
Yeah, okay.
I totally agree with you.
What the father brought up was a different intersection.
Right,
It was on Heartland
right.
Meadows. This is on
Okay.
Fairland.
Right.
This is one where I think we can partner with the schools that,
Mhm.
was that 169,000 or 69,000?
69,000.
Okay, 69, either way. Like that was an issue they brought to us about, I mean, specifically people walking across the street, in mid-block and, you know, the distances between the crosswalks were pretty significant.
Yeah.
So we talked about covering that, but either way, to John's point, you know, maybe it's not part of the street improvement program, but it's not like we're not gonna do it eventually. We're gonna do something. And we can do this as one-offs, I think is what I heard you say, including the Sunbury Meadows Drive, traffic calm.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
$38,000, we should be pulling the trigger on that.
Mhm.
We've heard about that for 18 months.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Right. Right.
All right. Last topic.
So what was burned up a good bit of my week, the next. Can you click on that bottom left with your mouse, please? It's a video. There's just click on that. Watch this video. Is it moving?
Yeah, it's moving.
Okay. This is a culvert, that is our road, became part of our road as part of the annexation for the Sunbury Parkway. If you saw that pavement fall, that was as a result of some significant rains that occurred this week. That culvert is located right here on the map. This is where Sunbury Parkway is coming through. We've inherited, we've taken this piece of property for where Sunbury Parkway comes through. There's a huge watershed that drains down through here. There's twin 48 inch big old pipes, HDP plastic pipes that went through there, apparently installed. I can't say for sure, but I'm guessing they were installed poorly, but it was 1999, so they've been there quite a while. We're overwhelmed during the rains, whether it was some obstructions or whatever, but they failed. And you can see, go to the next slide, please. What happens with those HDPE pipes is sometimes if they're not installed properly, they become buoyant and they float up. And I think the end of the pipe floated up and that took that pavement with it, and the pavement, you know, it came up and then it went down. Next slide. And this is what happened up there. And so the road is closed. It's gonna be closed until we get that fixed. Next slide. Right now, this is how you get around there. This is where the closure is. This is 5 Points. This is North Galena and 3637. Traffic's being routed around there. This is where it's going to stay until we get it fixed. Next slide. The cost to repair it is about $145,000. We got to get something done quick. We are hoping to, and tonight at council, I've gotten with Mike Miller, who's with our staff, and he used to be a director at OPWC, and he's aware of some emergency funding that we can go after. Hopefully they'll fund 90% of that $145,000 for us and fund it quickly, like within the next few weeks, to get out there and get it fixed. You'll see that resolution ordinance at council tonight. Chances are not 100%, but they're probably 75% that we can get it funded. And I got with Park. He first off, thank the Delaware County engineer for going out there, and they're the one that took that video. I didn't even know it was happening. I don't know if you know it was happening, but they contacted us. At the same time, they were closing the road, taking care of the detour, and taking care of a lot of things that normally we probably would have taken care of. But when they got hold of me, went out there, and Jake and I took care of it and got hold of the contractor and started getting getting it priced and taking care of these different things, getting hold of Mike and getting hold of PWC. Bottom line is we have an issue that we need to take care of on a very well-used road that has a good bit of traffic and also has kind of some dangerous issues associated with it. We need to get it taken care of. We'll see tonight at council a way that will help us get it taken care of and save us a significant amount of money with OPWC. I wanted you to be aware of it. This is what you'll be seeing tonight at council. And I'm hoping not to replace it with plastic pipes or the concrete pipes in there so we don't face the same issue again in that same situation. There's nothing wrong with HDPE pipes. So I put in right. Try not to do them as twin pipes like that when you just exacerbate the issue when you put twin culverts that are HDPE together. They need to be put back in as twin pipes. So I'm going to recommend concrete, which adds $8,500 to the cost, which is not much for the safety associated with that.
Do we have any sense of timing from Park? Did they give you a sense of when they would be?
As soon as he can get the materials, he can get started.
Okay.
And then as soon as we get the go. So I would suspect we could have it started within 3 weeks, complete within 6.
So that'd be priority over any of the
Sooner than
others.
that.
I was thinking like by the weekend.
Yeah, I was thinking 2 weeks maybe, but okay.
So that's a lot of work out there.
I'm sorry.
Will that be priority over the mill and fills?
So this is not part of the street program. As Dan had indicated, we're going to seek emergency grant funding from OPWC. I mean, I don't know, it might be the same source.
They take all the OPWC money, they set aside 19% for emergency funding. We need to get this into OPWC. There's enough rain that there's other communities that are having similar situations and they're going after the same money. We need to get in there fast and get it. And if we don't get that OPWC money, we may be in a situation where we have to go out for competitive bidding, which means months instead of weeks. We don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So that's why we need, and fortunately, it was before this council meeting, not after this council meeting, or we would have an emergency council meeting as well. But anyways, that's.
I mean, this is an emergency though. I don't think we're gonna have to go out for competitive bidding on this. I mean, do we need to declare an emergency or something to avoid that? 'Cause
Well, that's what we're.
three months is
Well,
ridiculous.
that's what we're doing tonight, yes. As long as this, I don't know what happens if we don't get the funding tonight, this week. We'll have to do it.
We'll pay out of the budget. I mean, that's what I guess I'm getting at. Like, we just need to have Dave Green like tell us, yes, are we within the bounds of the law because we need to take money and do this right now?
Yeah.
It's just compounded with everything else that's going on by I-71 and Galena Road.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
and everything else, like, this is one of the only holes in the bucket.
So agree.
Well, he's saying that we need to apply for that money.
No, I understand what he's saying. I'm saying this is an emergency and we need to fix the road. It's our responsibility. It's our liability. We need to do that tonight.
So what the mayor is getting at, by declaring an emergency, there may be a different procurement process that we can use that would expedite that. So that's what we'll have to.
For example, there's a
Research.
tornado in Galena. They declared an emergency. It allowed them to use public resource to help private citizens. This is along the same lines, is what I'm saying.
That's a good point. Probably ought to have a fallback. So that's that.
All right, so I think that covers those 3 topics. I want to make sure we provide adequate time for Officer Walbacher to talk about a GIS initiative. So why don't we bring you up there, Officer?
Does he want to work the computer?
Thank you.
Sure. Sure.
All righty. Good morning. Actually, it's afternoon. So, what happens when you run on night shift? So, Mayor, just wanted to talk a little bit about our street signs that we have up that are placed throughout the city. Currently, we do have 2 street signs. They're placed alongside roadways that our speed measuring devices. They face a certain direction, cars come down it, display the speeds, they log it in data, which is eventually collected by officers and placed into a database that makes it nice and neat and easy to read for officers, anybody who requests it. With the street signs, just a little bit about them. They need a flat, straight surface in order to register, you know, I'm trying to explain this. To be able to work efficiently, they need to be on a flat, straight road. So anything that has a curve, it won't pick up correctly and it'll askew the data. On the sheet of paper that I gave you is a list of places that they've been recently. Currently, we have one on Weatherby out near the school off of Cheshire, and the other one is off of Millstone Drive in the new build area. We've had some complaints of speeding down there, so it's currently there collecting the data. Recently, myself, Chief Howard, Deputy Chief Wade, we've been working with CT Consultants on trying to develop a program, which is up here displayed on the TV, to better collect, present, and be able to read the data. So if you look up here on the screen, outline, obviously that's City of Sunbury's jurisdiction. And in there are the roads. I'd say 99%. There's still some that are being added in there that we're working with CT on, you know, getting those labeled so that way if a street sign is placed on that road, that it's able to be placed there. All the dots, the red dots, those are places where the signs have been placed. And the number above them is just a serial number. So that way we can keep these signs, you know, in order, know which it's easier to keep track of them that way. If you don't mind clicking on any dot, does not matter. So when you click on a dot, it'll show the unit ID, which is just basically the serial number. Status inactive. If it's currently placed there, it'll obviously say active. That means the sign's up, it's running, it's functional, it's collecting data. Operating mode. There's different operating modes with the speed signs. There's one where it can go completely dark, where it's still collecting data, but I've noticed, and I've talked with Chief Howard about this, sometimes, usually they're juveniles or people who just don't pay attention to them. They'll see the number and they'll think of it as like a high score and try to beat it. So we can turn it completely off and they won't even, half the time they won't even realize it's there, but it's still collecting data, still collecting speeds, numbers of cars that have been through there, and then we're still able to pull that. Also, it can it'll display your speed, and sometimes there's a mode where you can just turn on the blue light showing that it's active, but it won't display a speed. If you scroll back up a little bit more, direction, it'll just state the direction that it's facing, which way the traffic is coming into the sign, date installed, date removed, and then the amount of days that it's posted. It can post the posted speed, and then once the data is collected, we can go back in there and input the information that we had gathered from the sign, the average speed, the total number of cars. We're working on them currently with a time frame. So, hey, this is our most traveled time on this road. This is our least traveled time on this road, which will vary based off the road. And then down, keep scrolling down for me, please. Down here at the bottom, what we've been doing, we've been basically putting it into a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, which is easy to read, but this program is a lot easier to group everything together, just so everything's in one area, people can access it. We're also looking to add in a area where if somebody calls in a complaint, which we've had numerous times people calling, we have speeders on our road, you know, nothing's being done about it. We can go in there and say, hey, this sign was placed here because the residents at, you know, 325 Mill Run called in and said, we've had numerous speeders. We can go in there, say, hey, this was a complaint, or this was just something that we want to place a speed sign at. And then down here, I don't know if you're gonna be able to click on it. Yes, you can. This is what it normally looks like right now, just a lot of numbers, different times. It's 15-minute intervals that they record at. And that'll be placed in there in a PDF docket where you can go in there, click on it if you truly want to look at, you know, how it's listed out and how it's presented to us. Maybe it'll provide some further information instead of what the GIS system has created. Other than that, like I said beforehand, speed signs are moved all around. We tend to deal with complaints first. If somebody complains, we'll move a speed sign there relatively quickly. I usually leave them up for about a week where they're at. I've been on vacation, so that's why if you've noticed, they've been up for 2 weeks. And then we'll just move them around periodically, provided that there's a flat, straight level. Sometimes callers will call in and say, hey, you know, I want a street sign here, but they live on Greenbrier. There's no pole. That's not an issue. We can always put a stake in the ground and hang the sign there. But if it's not flat, straight, and level, then we just have to revert to different options. Does anybody have any questions about this or the speed signs in general?
I have had a couple of people tell me on South Old 3C, as you're going, just as you're going out of Sunbury, people, that's a speed trap or people fly through there.
Yeah, Officer Whiteside has gotten with me about that because he's had some people complain about down there near the school. We've had one up there in the past. It's not labeled here on the map because we just started this program with CT Consultants. But yeah, one will be up there eventually.
So I have a question about data, and this is going to be a little bit nerdy here.
Okay.
When using this system to kind of track the different data points, as we collect them in different areas, are we making sure that the data that we collect is using the same settings on the sign? So are you consistently using the flashing speed or just the dark setting? Because if you're studying at this point and you're studying at this point, you're using different settings, your data is going to be different.
Correct. That's something that we can keep in mind. If need be, we can keep it all on the same setting, just so that way there's no confliction in data. That's something that I can just do. I can just leave all the signs on, you know, hey, it's all gonna show the blue dot showing that it's working. And then if a vehicle comes down the road, it'll display your data.
Well, and I'm definitely asking for clarification, not providing a prescription for anything, so don't get me wrong. Is the goal that we have this data building up, that we have an accurate visibility of our speeding, or is it
Traffic count.
answering the calls? Is it more reactive?
I think that's a really good point. I think maybe what we're asking is in that initial table view, when you click on the view, maybe just designate ABC mode or whatever you call the modes. So because we can run filters based on the GIS layer, right, Dan? We can run filters based on the GIS layer and say, in dark mode, we want to see all the ones that were in dark mode. So it's a compare and contrast, apples to apples.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, it's a work in progress right now.
Right.
This is what we have so far, but I can have him add in that tab. So if you click on the dot again, where it has everything all listed up, you know, when it was displayed, stuff like that, we can have a tab on there that says, hey, this was in, you know, covert mode,
Right.
or it was displaying everything, you know, properly, and then go from there. And then
really good point.
and then we can have a filter that shows the dots. Hey, these street signs were in covert mode during this time.
Yeah, because you can do like one mode and then another mode at a later time and see if there's a difference, right?
Yep.
I mean, you're most likely going to see a difference when something's flashing in your face, or you may see, you know, people trying to get a high score.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have
Or
seen.
slamming on the
differences,
brakes.
So.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you a lot of credit, and I think Sergeant Meacham's been supporting you. I know DC Wade's been involved in this. CT, obviously. I mean, you turned this into a reality very quickly. I mean, 2-3 months when we started talking about traffic counts and how do you pull this together. Those reports by themselves are hard to read. To your point, it's great if you're looking at the detail, but when you're looking at trends, this is how you find that. And I just want to give you guys a lot of credit.
Thank you, guys.
This is really cool.
It's going to be a great building program.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any other questions? No? Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, we have 10 minutes left. Daryl, what do you think's highest priority in our other updates?
Oh, we can be quick on the others,
Okay.
so. So other updates. The first one, we got the water reuse hydrological study. I think we've talked to this group a little bit about this. We had, we're trying to determine for the water reuse project. We had talked about this as part of the sanitary sewer update that CT did late last year. And we have talked about studying the possibility of someday maybe creating a water reuse component to our sanitary sewer system. And one of the first things that we needed to do was understand whether or not we had any capability to withdraw money or withdraw funds to withdraw water out of Big Walnut Creek. So the study has been done. I just wanted to let you know that it has been done. I've got, I think, the summary in the packet for you. The short response basically is this, that in the driest months of the year, the driest and hottest months of the year, August, we could draw up to 2 million gallons per day of water out of that system to support a water reuse program if we choose to do that. What we also learned is that there's probably more capacity than that to be withdrawn, but the 2 million gallons per day is an amount that that can be done without some additional permitting at the state level. And so I think that's really helpful information in terms of helping us go to the next level. So again, just wanted to give you a high level overview that the study has been done. You've got it in your packet, and that's what we know so far. So more to be done, in terms of next steps. On the municipal and police building renovations, I've got the most recent report in that packet. So unless there are questions about that at this point, we still are working on a completion date in mid to late June. So, if that changes, I'll certainly keep you posted on that. Stormwater legislation, we have drafted the legislation. In fact, I was working on doing a summary that I hope to be able to present to you tonight. But then the events of the stormwater issues earlier in the week overwhelmed us. So wasn't able to get that survey or that summary done, but we ought to be able to get that to you. We will get that to you for the next meeting. So that'll be a summary of the legislation, and then basically to make sure that you understand what's included in the proposal. And then we've got some kind of final scrubbing that we'll have to do just to make sure the ordinance is properly drafted and fits into our codified ordinances. One other thing on stormwater management, Dan had shown you the significant failure that happened out on South Galena Road, but we did have two other issues that we were working through. We did have some flooding down on Cherry Street across from J.R. Smith Park in the backyard of a property. The service team has already worked through that and cleared the storm drain. So, but we probably need a more permanent fix there, because what's happening is debris is washing down off of these hillsides, and that's what caused that particular catch basin to fail. The other one is happening over on Laurel Court and Arbor Drive. We did bring a jetter truck out to try to free that up. We were unsuccessful in doing that. We did bring in an auxiliary pump. We were pumping the water basically up to another catch basin, which is a little risky because we want to make sure we don't just push the issue downstream to another area. So we're careful about doing that. That is an issue that hasn't been resolved yet. We need to get to work on that. Jake Stockmaster has already put in the request to OOPS to do the locates, because this will require doing some digging to get down to that storm drain and basically clearing it manually, clearing the debris manually. So Yeah, I think those are the other kind of important points to share with the services committee, unless there are any questions. I think that's it.
Questions? Anything for the good of the group?
There are a couple of streetlights out on Vernon. There's about 3 of them out,
On Vernon, okay.
starting at right behind District 13 and the next.
Okay.
Then the next 2, all the way down to the curve.
Headed in that direction. Okay, thank you.
Well, then I will make a motion to adjourn. Second. Can I get a second? Second by Mayor St. John. Roll call.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Ms. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
4 yeas, we are adjourned.